On my 50th birthday, my wife served me a bowl of soup with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Something felt off, so I switched the bowl and let her mother taste it instead. Minutes later, she started coughing and clutching her stomach. What happened next didn't just shock me, it destroyed my ability to ever trust my wife again. My name is Isaac. I'm 50 years old. My wife, Rita, is 45. I'm going to start where my life actually split in two, because the before part feels like I was watching a man make choices I'd never make again. It was my birthday. Not a party birthday. Just one of those milestone ones where people call you blessed, and you're supposed to smile and pretend you don't feel the weight of everything you've built, and everything you could still lose. Rita was being perfect. That was the first problem. For weeks, she'd been softer. Less arguments. More touching my shoulder when she walked past. More, "How was your day, baby?" texts. If you're a man, you know what I mean. When a woman suddenly becomes everything you used to beg her to be, your ego wants to call it growth. Your gut calls it something else. I own a small transport business, nothing flashy, but it feeds us. I have savings. I have a pension plan. I have property in my name. And I have something else a lot of men don't admit matters until it's under attack: peace. That morning, I woke up uneasy. Not sick. Not scared. Just heavy. Like my body knew something my brain didn't want to accept. Rita moved around me like a nurse. She smiled too much. She avoided eye contact whenever I looked at her longer than a second. And then she announced it like it was a gift. "I made you soup," she said, coming in with a bowl like it was holy. "Your favorite. Today is your day." I watched her hands. Steady. Confident. Almost proud. "You didn't have to do that," I said. "I wanted to," she replied quickly. Too quickly. Then she leaned down and kissed my cheek. Her lips were warm, but it felt like a performance. "Eat while it's hot." I sat there with that bowl in front of me and didn't move. I stared at it the way you stare at an envelope you already know contains bad news. Rita took a seat across from me and watched my face like she was waiting for a reaction. "You're not eating," she said. "I will," I replied. "Just give me a minute." She laughed, but it wasn't relaxed. "What minute?" "It's soup, Isaac." That's when I noticed something else. Her phone was face down beside her. Rita never did that. She always had it near her, screen up, like she was ready for it to light up. "You've been on your phone a lot lately," I said casually. Her smile tightened. "So? Is that a crime?" "No," I said. "Just noticing." Silence. I picked up the spoon. My hand shook a little. I hated that it shook. I'm a grown man. I've handled real problems. But something about that bowl made me feel like a child sitting in front of a test he didn't study for. Rita watched the spoon rise. Then the door opened. "Mama Rose!" Rita's voice jumped. Her mother walked in without asking. Older woman, strong, blunt, the type that doesn't fear anyone because she's already lived enough life to stop pretending. Rita always complained about her. Called her stubborn. Called her a burden. Said she was draining our peace. But Mama Rose never begged Rita for anything. She only ever told her the truth. Mama Rose looked at me. "Happy birthday, my son." "Thank you," I said, and something inside me clicked into place. Not a plan. Not logic. Just instinct. I lifted the bowl slightly and smiled. "Mama Rose, Rita made a special birthday soup. Please taste it with me. Elders bring blessings, right?" Rita froze. It wasn't dramatic. It was small, but it was real. Her eyes widened for half a second, and her face strained like she'd been slapped from the inside. She tried to recover fast. "No, Mom. It's for him." Mama Rose waved her off. "Stop that. Let me taste it. It's his birthday." Rita stood up so fast her chair scraped the floor. "Mom, please." Mama Rose reached for the bowl. Rita's hand twitched like she was about to grab it back. And in that one moment, everything I'd been ignoring for months stood up in front of me and stared me in the face. Because no innocent person reacts like that over soup. Mama Rose took the bowl from my hands, brought it to her lips, and drank. Rita's mouth opened, but no sound came out. I sat there watching my wife watch her mother swallow. And I understood, with a cold clarity that made my stomach drop, that I had just forced the truth to reveal itself. The first minute after Mama Rose drank the soup was quiet. Rita stood there, stiff, like her feet were nailed to the floor. Her eyes didn't move normally. They kept darting, bowl, mother, me, door. Like she was calculating exits. Like she was trying to control something that had already left her hands. Mama Rose smacked her lips. "It tastes good," she said, almost impressed. "You finally cooked with sense." Rita gave a fake laugh that cracked in the middle. "Of course it tastes good." I didn't laugh. I watched Rita's face. She couldn't hold her mask. "Mama, you didn't have to drink so much," Rita added quickly, reaching out like she wanted to take the bowl back and hide it. Mama Rose pulled it away. "Let me enjoy it. Your husband is not the only one with a mouth." Rita's eyes flashed, anger, fear, something ugly, and then she forced it down. I sat there with my hands on my knees acting calm, but my heart was banging like it wanted to break out of my chest. Because the moment my wife panicked, the situation stopped being maybe. It became, how bad? Then Mama Rose stopped talking. She touched her throat once, like she had swallowed wrong. "You okay?" I asked. "I'm fine," she said, but her voice changed. Smaller. Thinner. Rita stepped back without thinking. One step, then another. Like her body was trying to get away from the result. Mama Rose coughed. Soft at first. Then again. Then her face tightened, and she bent forward like something grabbed her stomach from the inside. Rita whispered, "Oh my God!" I stood up so fast the chair almost fell. "Mama Rose?" She coughed harder. Her hands went to her belly. Her eyes watered, not emotional tears, pain tears. Rita shook her head rapidly. "No, no, no, it's just spices. Maybe it's too hot. Mom, you always eat too fast." "Stop talking," I snapped, louder than I meant to. My voice had a sharpness I didn't recognize. "What did you put in that soup, Rita?" Her eyes jumped to mine. "Nothing." Mama Rose coughed so violently she gagged. Her knees buckled. I caught her arm. At the same time, Rita moved, toward the kitchen. Not toward us. Not toward her mother. Toward the kitchen. I saw it clearly. She was going to hide something. "Rita!" I shouted. She froze, then forced herself to turn around. "I'm getting water." "Bring it here," I said. "Don't go anywhere else." Her hands were shaking. Mama Rose's breathing changed. Shallow. Fast. She clutched my shirt like she needed something solid to stay connected to. I yelled for help. A neighbor came running in. Then another. Somebody called an ambulance, but we couldn't wait. We lifted Mama Rose into a car. Rita stood at the doorway watching, arms hanging like dead weight. "Aren't you coming?" I asked. She blinked like she'd forgotten she was supposed to perform concern. "Yes. I'm coming." But she didn't move right away. And that pause told me everything. At the hospital, the doctor took one look at Mama Rose and moved fast. Tests. Questions. 4-line. Oxygen. I watched Rita the entire time. She avoided eye contact. She kept checking her phone the same way a man checks the door when he knows trouble is coming. I leaned close and lowered my voice. "Who have you been talking to at night?" She swallowed. "What are you talking about?" "You heard me." She stared at me like she wanted to fight, but the fear was winning. "Isaac, please." "Not now." That please wasn't love. It was negotiation. Then the doctor came out, serious, professional, careful with words. "We stabilized her," he said. "But I need to ask you something directly. Did she consume anything unusual?" Because this isn't normal food poisoning. Rita's face went blank. Not shocked. Not confused. Blank. And as I stood there, the next truth hit me. If my gut hadn't spoken up today, that bowl would have been in my hands. Rita's phone buzzed again. She grabbed it too fast, then caught herself. I didn't even ask anymore. I reached for it. She pulled it back. Don't. That one word, tight, defensive, was the loudest confession she could have given. Because a faithful wife doesn't protect her phone when her mother is fighting for her life. And in that hallway, with the doctor watching us and my world cracking open, I realized I wasn't just dealing with betrayal. I was dealing with a plan. I didn't snatch Rita's phone like a teenager. I'm not built that way. I'm 50. I've been responsible for people's salaries, people's families. I've handled breakdowns and accidents on the road. I've sat with grown men who lost everything in one bad decision. But I also know this. When you feel like your life is in danger, politeness becomes stupidity. Rita was holding her phone close to her chest like it was her oxygen. Mama Rose was inside that emergency room fighting for her own breath. The contrast made me sick. Give me the phone, I said again. Calm voice. Hard eyes. No, she said, and her fingers tightened around it. That was the moment I stopped seeing her as my wife and started seeing her as a threat. I stepped closer. Rita, your mother might die. If you're innocent, you have nothing to hide. She looked left and right, like she was checking who was watching. Then she did something that told me exactly how guilty she was. She tried to walk away. I blocked her path. Don't play games. She hissed, low and angry. You're embarrassing me. I laughed once dry. Embarrassing you? Your mother is in there dying. And you're worried about embarrassment. Her eyes flashed. You don't understand what's happening. I understand enough, I said. Hand it over. Her hands were shaking so bad she could barely unlock the screen, but she still tried to act like she had control. She opened the phone and shoved it toward me like she was proving a point. Look. Nothing. That's the funny thing about panic. People make mistakes trying to look clean. She had deleted things, but she didn't delete everything. I didn't start scrolling like a detective. I just looked at the top notification bar. One message sat there, fresh, like a snake that didn't have time to hide. Did he eat it? Answer me now. If he eats it, we move tonight. I read it twice. Then I looked up at Rita. Her face was already collapsing. She knew I saw it. Who is that? I asked. She didn't answer. Her lips parted, then closed again. I clicked the message thread. The contact name wasn't even a real name. It was saved as Mechanic. Like she thought that would make it harmless. The chat was short, but enough. Make sure it's hot so it dissolves. Don't talk too much. Just act loving. After he's gone, I'll help you handle the papers. Your mom is old anyway. Stop worrying. I felt my hands go cold on the phone. Rita lunged for it. Give me that! I stepped back. So your plan was to poison me and inherit my life. It wasn't poison. She snapped too fast. It was, he said it would just make you sick. Like food poisoning. You'd be weak, you'd. I cut her off. You'd die. That's what you mean. She covered her face for a second like she wanted sympathy. Then she dropped her hands and looked at me with something that wasn't regret, just frustration that the plan had shifted. You don't know what I've been going through, she said. I stared at her. So you decided to bury me for it? She began crying, but I didn't react. I've seen real tears. I've seen fake tears. Her tears were the kind that come when people get caught, not when they feel shame. Then the doctor came back out. Your mother is responding, he said. But we need to know exactly what she ingested. It could help us treat her properly. Rita went quiet. Her breathing got fast again. I didn't ask her anymore. I turned to the doctor and said, It wasn't an accident. Rita's head snapped up. Isaac. I kept going. That soup was meant for me. She panicked when her mother drank it. The doctor's expression hardened. Professionals have a face for this. A face that says, "I've seen families destroy each other before." A nurse walked away quickly. I heard the word, "Security." Rita grabbed my arm. "Please don't do this." I leaned close enough for her to hear every word. "You already did it." Her nails dug into my skin. "If you tell them, you're ruining my life." I looked at her hand on my arm and thought about how close I came to not having a life at all. "You were ready to end mine," I said. "Now you're negotiating yours." That's when she whispered the one thing that changed my anger into pure disgust. "It wasn't supposed to be, Mom." I stared at her. "So if I had eaten it, you'd be fine?" She didn't answer. But she didn't have to. Police don't move like movies. They move slow at first. Questions. Statements. Calm voices. They let you talk because people reveal themselves when they think they can control the story. 2 officers arrived at the hospital and asked us to sit separately. Rita tried to refuse. "This is family matter." One officer looked at her like she was foolish. "Madam, someone nearly died." They took my statement first. I didn't exaggerate. I didn't insult her. I just told the truth in plain sentences, because the truth was already heavy enough. "It was my birthday," I said. "She made soup and watched me like she was waiting for something. When her mother arrived, I asked the mother to taste it. Rita reacted like she was afraid. After the mother drank it, she got sick. I saw messages on my wife's phone suggesting the food was tampered with." The officer asked, "Do you have the phone?" I hesitated for 1 second. Not because I wanted to protect Rita, but because handing over your wife's phone to police is like officially burying the marriage. Then I remembered that bowl. I handed it over. They spoke to Rita next. I could see her through the glass panel in the small waiting room area. She sat upright, shoulders tense, trying to look like a victim. She kept wiping tears that weren't falling. She kept touching her hair like she was resetting herself. I've lived with her long enough to know her patterns. That day, she wasn't grieving. She was calculating. 30 minutes later, one officer came back to me. "Sir, your wife says you've been controlling and suspicious for years," he said carefully. "She claims she has no idea how her mother got sick, and that you forced the phone from her to frame her." I nodded slowly. "That's her defense." The officer watched my face. "She also says she has been unhappy, and she believes you were looking for an excuse to throw her out." I almost laughed. Not because it was funny, but because it was predictable. When a woman gets caught, the first move is to rewrite the man as a villain so her actions look like survival. "She can say anything," I said. "But the messages don't lie. And the hospital results won't either." The officer's jaw tightened slightly. "We'll see what toxicology says." Then something else happened. My phone rang. An unknown number. I answered without thinking. "Hello?" A man's voice. Low. Too confident. "Isaac." I froze. "Who is this?" Silence for half a second, then a chuckle. "You're smarter than she said." My grip tightened on the phone. "Who are you?" "You don't need my name," he replied. "Just understand this. Your wife is in trouble because you wanted to act like a hero." I felt my blood pressure rise. "So you're the one messaging her?" He didn't deny it. "You should have eaten your birthday soup and enjoyed your day. Now everything is messy." "You tried to kill me," I said flatly. He sighed like I was being dramatic. "Nobody tried to kill you. It was a little push. A little sickness. The old man retires early, the wife starts fresh. Everybody wins." I couldn't even speak for a second. The disrespect was too clean. Too casual. "What do you want?" I asked. "You're a businessman," he said. "You know problems can be settled. Tell the police it was a misunderstanding. Withdraw your statement. Keep your marriage. Keep your pride." I laughed once. "You're calling me to negotiate after poisoning a woman in her 70s? He lowered his voice. Listen to me, Isaac. If you push this, you'll embarrass yourself. People will talk. They'll laugh. Your drivers will whisper. Your church people will act holy but enjoy the story. I felt something snap inside me, not anger this time. Clarity. You called the wrong man, I said. He paused. Be careful. I am careful, I replied. That's why I'm still alive. I ended the call and immediately showed the officer the number and told him what was said. His face changed. You should not engage further, he said. But this is useful. Rita must have seen the officer's expression shift, because she suddenly started shouting from her room. I want my husband! Let me talk to my husband! The officer ignored her. A nurse then came out and called my name. Sir, Mama Rose is awake. I rushed to her bedside. She looked small on that hospital bed, but her eyes were sharp even through the weakness. She grabbed my hand with surprising strength. My son, she whispered, voice rough. She did this. I swallowed hard. You knew? Tears slid down her face. I warned her. Many times. I stared at her. Warned her about what? Mama Rose's eyes flicked to the door, then back to me. There is a man, she whispered. A younger man. He has been feeding her ideas. Feeding her greed. My stomach turned. I leaned closer. Do you know his name? Mama Rose hesitated, like saying it would make it more real. Then she said it. And when she said it, my heart dropped, because I knew exactly who he was. Not a stranger. Not a random mechanic. A man who had been around my business. A man I had given small favors to before. A man who had been smiling in my face. When Mama Rose said the name, I didn't ask her to repeat it. I didn't need to. Derek Miles, she whispered. My throat went dry. Derek wasn't some random guy from the street. He wasn't a mistake Rita met online. Derek had been around my business. He was the mechanic I used sometimes when one of my buses needed quick work and my regular guy was busy. The kind of man that talks too much, laughs too easily, and calls everyone boss, while studying them. I remembered him shaking my hand, looking me in the eye, smiling like we were brothers. I also remembered something else. Rita had mentioned him before. Derek says your drivers disrespect the buses, she once told me, like she was just passing along advice. At the time, it sounded harmless. Now it sounded like access. I pulled a chair closer to Mama Rose's bed. How long has she been seeing him? Mama Rose swallowed hard. I don't know the exact time. But I noticed money missing from her purse. I noticed she started talking like she had a new teacher. She became bold. Cold. Everything became mine and I deserve. I nodded slowly. Did you ever confront her directly? I did, Mama Rose said, her eyes watering. I told her, Rita, Isaac is not your enemy. Stop listening to outsiders. She told me to mind my old age. Then she said something that scared me. What? Mama Rose looked down. She said, if Isaac disappears, my life finally begins. My chest tightened. Not heartbreak, rage. That kind of rage that stays quiet because you're too focused on surviving. The police officer returned and I gave him the name. Derek Miles, I said. He works on my vehicles sometimes. He's the one behind the messages. He called me earlier and tried to pressure me. The officer's face changed. Do you know where he lives? I can find out, I said. But I'm not going there. Good, he replied. Let us handle it. We'll need his number, any invoices, any proof he has a connection to your wife. I pulled up old payment records on my phone, transfers, receipts, messages with his business line. I handed it all over. Then I did something I didn't expect to do that day. I called my lawyer. Not to talk about divorce yet. Not to talk about emotions. To protect what I had built. My wife tried to poison me, I said bluntly. I need you to advise me on freezing assets and securing documents. Today. There was a pause on the line. Isaac, are you safe right now? I'm at the hospital, I said. Her mother drank the soup. She survived. Do not go home alone, he said immediately. And do not tell her what you're about to do. When I walked out of that call, Rita was waiting near the corridor like she had been released from a cage. Her eyes were red. Her voice was soft. She stepped toward me carefully, like she was approaching a wild animal. Isaac, she said. Please. Can we talk? I looked at her and felt something cold settle in me. Not hate. Not love. Just distance. You tried to kill me, I said. She flinched like I slapped her. No. I didn't. I held up a hand. Stop. Your mother nearly died. The doctor said this wasn't normal food poisoning. Your phone has messages. A man called my phone. Your mother just gave me his name. Rita's mouth opened, but she couldn't find a clean lie fast enough. Then she switched tactics. You've never trusted me, she said, voice rising slightly. You've always treated me like I'm here for your money. You think a woman can't love an older man unless there's something to gain. I stared at her. So you're blaming me for your decision? I was desperate, she whispered. I felt trapped. You control everything. You. I cut her off. If you felt trapped, you leave. You don't poison. Her eyes hardened for half a second. Then the softness came back. Please, she said again. Just tell them it was a mistake. Tell them you overreacted. My life will be finished. I leaned in close so she could hear me clearly. You weren't begging when you thought I was about to eat it, I said. You were watching. Her breathing changed. Her hands shook. Then she said something that made me realize the conversation was pointless. If you do this, she whispered, I swear I'll tell everyone things about you. I'll ruin your name. I nodded once. So this is who you are. I turned to walk away. And behind me, Rita's voice dropped into a cold, bitter tone that didn't sound like a wife at all. You think you've won, she said. But you don't know what Derek already has. I stopped. Not because I was scared of her words. Because I suddenly understood, they didn't only plan to kill me. They planned to strip me first. I didn't go home that night. I stayed at the hospital until Mama Rose was stable. Then my lawyer arranged for me to meet him at his office early the next morning. I slept in my car for 2 hours in the parking lot because my mind wouldn't shut down. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Rita holding that bowl, watching my spoon. When the sun came up, I didn't waste time on emotions. I focused on facts. My lawyer, Mr. Howard, sat across from me and spoke like a man who has watched families destroy each other over property. Isaac, he said, if your wife and another man were planning something, they likely didn't start with poison. Poison is the last step. The first step is paperwork. I nodded. That's what I'm afraid of. He slid a notepad closer. We're going to list every asset, every account, every policy. Then we secure them. We change passwords. We notify your pension administrator. We place alerts where necessary. I exhaled slowly. Do it. Then he asked, does she have access to your documents at home? I thought about it. Rita cleaned our room. She organized drawers. She always insisted she was helping. She has access, I admitted. Mr. Howard's expression stayed calm. Then we assumed she copied what she needed. He called a private security contact and arranged for us to go to my house with 2 men present, witnesses, protection, and proof of what we found. No shouting. No drama. Just control. When we arrived, Rita's car was there. My stomach tightened. I told the security men, stay close. We walked in. Rita was in the living room, sitting like she'd been waiting all night. She stood slowly. So you're really doing this? I didn't answer her emotions. I stayed on mission. I'm here for documents, I said. Her eyes moved to my lawyer. You brought a lawyer already? Mr. Howard spoke politely. Madam, given the seriousness of the situation, it's appropriate. Rita laughed without humor. Appropriate. Okay. I went straight to my home office. The cabinet where I kept deeds, vehicle papers, bank letters, insurance files. The first thing I noticed was the cabinet wasn't locked. I always locked it. I opened it and felt my chest go tight. Folders were disturbed. Slightly out of order. Not enough for a careless person to notice, but enough for a man who knows how he leaves his things. Mr. Howard stood behind me. Anything missing? I don't know yet, I said, flipping through. Then I found it. A document on top that had never been there before. A printed form titled, Change of Beneficiary Request. My life insurance provider's logo was on it. The form wasn't fully completed, but my name and policy number were already filled in. Rita's name was typed into the beneficiary section. Not signed yet. Not submitted yet. But prepared. I stared at it for a long time. Rita appeared in the doorway. Put that down. I looked at her. You were going to change my beneficiary. It's not what you think, she said quickly. Mr. Howard held out his hand. We'll be taking that. Rita stepped forward. No, you won't. One of the security men moved slightly, just a shift of posture. Rita saw it and stopped herself. I kept searching. Then I found copies of my ID. Copies of my signature on old documents. A notebook with handwritten notes, account numbers, pension details, the name of my pension administrator. My throat went dry. This wasn't a stupid argument gone wrong. This was a project. I turned slowly. How long have you been planning this? Rita's eyes burned with hatred for a moment, pure and undisguised, then she masked it. You don't know what it's like, she said. To live with a man who thinks money is love. I held up the beneficiary form. So your solution was to position yourself to collect money when I disappeared? She looked me dead in the face and said, I was securing my future. Mr. Howard exhaled quietly like a man watching the last thread snap. Then Rita's phone rang. She answered immediately, without hesitation, and turned her back slightly, as if she forgot there were people in the room. Her voice dropped low. Yes. I know. No, he didn't eat it. I told you his instincts are too strong. My blood ran cold. Because the way she said it, calm, reporting, sounded like this wasn't just Eric's plan. It was hers. Rita ended the call and turned back, and for the first time that day, she looked nervous. What did he say? I asked. She didn't respond. Mr. Howard looked at me. Isaac, we should leave now. But I didn't move yet, because Rita's silence felt like a warning. Then she finally spoke, voice tight. He said, if you keep pushing this, you'll find out something that will break you worse than death. I stared at her. What did you do, Rita? She held my gaze, and the answer came out like a knife. I didn't just plan to bury you, she said. I planned to replace you. When Rita said, I didn't just plan to bury you. I planned to replace you. I didn't respond like a husband. I responded like a man who finally understood the rules of the game he was dragged into. Replace me with who? I asked. Rita's eyes shifted for a second, toward the hallway, toward the door, toward anything that wasn't my face. That's how you know someone is trying to measure how much you already know. I'm done talking, she said. Mr. Howard touched my arm. Isaac, we have what we need. Let's go. I nodded, but I didn't move my eyes off her. Rita, I said quietly, you didn't just betray me. You tried to erase me. She laughed without warmth. You're not a victim. You're just finally meeting reality. That line hit me harder than the poison attempt, because it was pure contempt. No remorse. No fear of God. Just disrespect served cold. On the way out, Mr. Howard spoke low. Do not argue with her further. Anything you say can be twisted. We focus on 3 things: protection, evidence, and control. Protection? I repeated. He nodded. If she's working with someone bold enough to call you and threaten you, You assume escalation. We got into the car. My phone buzzed twice, unknown number again, then a message from one of my senior drivers, Malik. Malik, boss, Derek is at the yard. He says you sent him. He's talking to the drivers. He wants keys for bus 3 and bus 5. I stared at the screen so long it felt like my eyes were burning. Mr. Howard saw my expression. What is it? I showed him. His face tightened. This is the replace you part. We called Malik immediately. I put it on speaker. Malik, I said, don't give him anything. Don't hand over keys. Don't move a vehicle. Tell the others to stand down. Malik hesitated. Boss, he's saying he has papers. He's saying you're sick and you gave him authority. My stomach dropped. Listen to me, I said. That man has no authority. If he causes trouble, call police. Tell him to wait. Malik lowered his voice. Boss, Rita is not here, but Derek is acting confident. Like he owns the place. That sentence made my pulse spike. Confidence doesn't come from imagination. It comes from preparation. I ended the call and looked at Mr. Howard. How is he at my yard talking like that? Mr. Howard didn't sugarcoat it. Because they anticipated you would be gone, sick, or dead. And the next step is to occupy your space before you can stand back up. I turned the car around, then stopped myself. No. If I go there angry, they'll bait me. Mr. Howard nodded. Correct. First, we alert law enforcement. Second, we instruct your staff in writing. Third, we gather what Derek claims to have, without giving him a scene he can weaponize. We went straight to the police station and filed an additional report. Derek's call, Derek's presence at my yard, attempted access to property and vehicles. I provided the number, the messages, the receipts, and the beneficiary form we found at home. Then Mr. Howard drafted a formal notice, sent to my yard manager and senior staff, stating plainly that no third party had authority to transact, move, sell, or operate assets on my behalf, and that any claim otherwise was fraudulent. I thought that would slow them down. I was wrong. Because while we were handling procedure, Derek was handling psychology. He was doing what manipulators always do, getting to your people first, planting doubt, making you look unstable so your authority collapses without a single punch thrown. On my way back to the hospital, Mama Rose called me from her bed. My son, she said weakly. Rita's mouth is sweet when she wants something. But when she thinks she is winning, she becomes careless. Derek has been promising her a new life. He told her you would not fight back. I held the phone tighter. He's at my yard right now. Mama Rose inhaled sharply. Then go carefully. Do not go alone. And Isaac, don't let anger make you stupid. I sat in the car for a moment after that call and felt something I hadn't felt in years. Fear. Not fear of a man. Fear of what people can do when they see you as an obstacle to money. Then Malik texted again. Malik, boss, Derek just told the guys you signed a power of attorney. He's waiving papers. He said if anyone resists, he'll have them fired when he takes over. I looked at Mr. Howard. He looked back at me. And without either of us saying it out loud, we both understood the next chapter of my life was about to happen in public. We didn't rush in like heroes. Mr. Howard insisted we bring 2 things, witnesses and a camera. One of his security contacts came with us. Malik agreed to meet us at the gate. I also put my phone on record before we even stepped out of the car, because I already knew what kind of man Derek was: smooth voice, dirty intentions, and a talent for flipping blame when the heat arrives. When we entered the yard, the atmosphere was wrong. My drivers weren't laughing the way they usually did. Nobody was moving freely. Men were standing around like they were waiting for permission to breathe. Then I saw Derek. He was in the center of it like a pastor in a pulpit, holding a folder in one hand and a car key in the other. Clean jeans, fitted shirt, confident smile. He looked like a man enjoying a takeover. When he saw me, he didn't flinch. He smiled wider. Isaac, he said, walking toward me like we were friends. You're up. Good. I didn't want the men thinking you're dying. I didn't respond to the insult. I kept my voice calm. Put the keys down, I said. Derek raised his eyebrows. You're emotional. Mr. Howard stepped forward. Sir, identify yourself and state your business. Derek looked at him like he was bored. I'm Derek Miles, Isaac's representative. No, I said. You're a liar. The drivers shifted uncomfortably. Malik stayed near me like a wall. Derek opened the folder and pulled out a document like he'd rehearsed the moment. Power of attorney, he announced. Signed by Isaac. Authorizing me to manage assets due to his health situation. He held it up so everyone could see the header. He didn't hand it to me. He waved it like a flag. Mr. Howard's voice was firm. Hand it over. Let me review it. Derek chuckled. Lawyers always want to review. That's how men like Isaac get trapped in paperwork. I'm here to keep things moving. I stepped closer. You're here to steal. He leaned in and lowered his voice so only I could hear. Steal? No. I'm here to finish what your wife started. I felt my jaw tighten, but I kept my hands still. That was the discipline. Don't give him a moment, he can reshape. I raised my voice for everyone. Nobody moves a vehicle. Nobody gives him keys. If anyone has questions, you ask me or my lawyer. Derek turned to the drivers. You see? This is what I mean. The man is unstable. Then he said something designed to poison the room. Ask yourselves, Derek continued. Why would a wife do all this if the husband wasn't abusing her? Women don't just snap for no reason. Some of the younger drivers looked uncertain. That's how these games work. You don't need to convince everyone. You only need to create doubt. I stared at Derek. You're using that story to cover your greed. Derek smiled and finally handed the document to Mr. Howard like he was confident it would hold up. Mr. Howard read fast. His face didn't change much, but I saw his eyes narrow. Then he looked at me. Isaac, this signature resembles yours. My chest went cold. That's impossible, I said. I didn't sign anything giving him authority. Derek shrugged. Maybe you don't remember. Stress does that to old men. I took the paper from Mr. Howard and stared at the signature line. It looked like mine. Not perfect, but close enough to cause real damage. My mind flashed to the copies of my ID at home. The old documents with my signature. The notebook with my account details. Rita wasn't just planning poison. She was building a file on me. I looked up. You forged this. Derek's smile faded a little. Careful, Isaac. Accusations can turn around quickly. Before I could respond, Malik pulled me slightly back. Boss, he whispered. Police are entering. I turned. 2 police officers walked into the yard, calm, controlled, eyes scanning. Derek's posture changed immediately. He straightened like he had been waiting for this moment. One officer approached and said my name. Isaac Carter? He asked. Yes, I answered. The officer nodded once. We received a complaint this morning from Rita Carter. She alleges domestic threats and intimidation. She also alleges you attempted to seize her phone and restrict her movement. My stomach dropped, not because I was guilty, but because I recognized the play. Derek looked at me and gave a small, satisfied smile. And in that second, I understood the trap. While I was trying to prove I wasn't poisoned, they were building a second story where I was the violent husband, so the public would stop caring what she did, and start judging how I deserved it. The officer continued. We also have a document filed suggesting Mr. Miles has temporary authority to manage certain assets pending investigation. I stared at Derek, then back at the officer. You're telling me, I said slowly, that while my mother-in-law is in the hospital because of poisoned soup, my wife has already filed complaints to paint me as the danger? The officer didn't answer emotionally. He just said, Sir, I need you to come with us to make a formal statement. Mr. Howard stepped in. Officer, we have an active report regarding attempted poisoning and evidence of coercion. any document presented by Mr. Miles is disputed and appears fraudulent. The officer looked between us, then said something that made my blood run cold. Sir, for now, cooperate. If you resist, we'll have to restrain you. And Derek, standing behind them, holding my keys like they belonged to him, spoke softly, almost kindly. Don't worry, Isaac, he said. I'll keep your business running while you sort out your personal issues. I didn't move. Because if I took one wrong breath, one wrong step, one wrong word, I'd either be in handcuffs, or I'd lose everything before I ever got a chance to fight back. I didn't fight the officers at the yard. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't give Derek a single clip he could use to paint me as unstable. I looked at Mr. Howard and said, We go. But you come with me. At the station, they sat me down like I was the problem that needed to be managed. Not the woman whose soup nearly killed her own mother. Not the man waving a suspicious document around my business yard. Me. The officer across from me spoke calmly, like he had said the same words to 100 men. Rita alleges you threatened her and attempted to seize her phone, he said. She says you've been controlling, and that she fears for her safety. I nodded once. And did she mention her mother is in the hospital because she drank a bowl of soup meant for me? He didn't answer directly. He just asked, Did you seize her phone? I took it when I saw a message that suggested harm, I said. And I didn't destroy it. I handed it to the police. That's not intimidation. That's evidence. Mr. Howard leaned forward. Officer, my client has already provided documentation and a recorded call from a man who attempted to pressure him into withdrawing a statement. That man is Derek Miles, who was at the transport yard attempting to exert control. The officer's eyes flicked to Mr. Howard, then back to me. We'll address that. But first, I need your full statement. So I gave it. Clean timeline. No drama. Just facts. Rita's sudden softness for weeks. The soup. My request that Mama Rose taste it. Rita freezing when I asked. Mama Rose collapsing minutes later. The messages on Rita's phone. The call from Derek. I also told them something men usually struggle to say out loud because it sounds paranoid until it becomes real. I believe there's a coordinated effort to frame me as an abuser so the public stops caring about the poisoning, I said. Because it's easier to steal from a bad man than from an innocent one. The officer wrote, then asked, Do you have proof of this call? I slid my phone across the table. I recorded the second call. And I have invoices connecting Derek to my business. For the first time since morning, I saw a small shift in the room. That moment where they stop treating you like a nuisance and start treating it like a case. Then another officer walked in and whispered something to the first one. He looked at me and said, There's another issue. The power of attorney Derek presented, Rita claims it's legitimate. Mr. Howard spoke immediately. We dispute it as forged. The officer nodded. Understood. But until we verify, it's complicating things. Complicating. That word made me want to laugh. Because complicating is what they say when somebody is actively trying to ruin your life using paperwork. My phone buzzed in my pocket. Malik again. Malik, boss, Derek is still here. Police didn't remove him. He's telling staff you've been detained for domestic. He wants the spare keys now. I showed the text to the officer. He frowned. If he's obstructing operations, that's separate. But right now, you need to stay here until we finish your statement. So while I sat in that chair, Derek was outside planting another story in my business. That's when I realized something important. This wasn't just an attack on my body. It was an attack on my reputation. Because once a man's name is damaged, people feel comfortable taking from him. Then the hospital called my lawyer's phone. Mr. Howard put it on speaker. The doctor's voice was flat and careful. Preliminary results suggest this wasn't normal food poisoning. There are indicators consistent with a toxic substance. We're escalating the report. The officer's pen stopped moving. He looked at me for a long second. Sir, if that's confirmed, your wife is facing serious charges. I nodded, feeling no relief. Because my mind wasn't on her punishment yet. It was on how much Derek could steal while I was being processed. Then the officer said the sentence that made my stomach drop again. Until we sort out Rita's allegation, we're issuing a temporary no-contact directive. You cannot return home today, Mr. Howard protested. He's the one at risk. His wife's actions nearly killed a person. The officer didn't argue. He just repeated it like policy. Temporary. Until a magistrate reviews the domestic complaint. That's when I understood the trap in full. If they could keep me away from my house and tie my hands legally, Derek and Rita could operate freely, move documents, hide evidence, shift assets, while I was ordered to stay calm. And right as I was absorbing that, Malik sent one more message. Malik, boss. Bus 5 just left the yard. Derek authorized it. He says it's for a special trip. My mouth went dry. Because Bus 5 wasn't just a bus. Bus 5 was collateral on a loan. And if that bus disappeared, the bank wouldn't ask Rita questions. They'd come for me. Mr. Howard got me released from the station that night, but released isn't the word I'd use. It felt like being allowed to breathe while someone else still had their hand on your throat. The no-contact directive meant I couldn't go home. I couldn't speak to Rita directly. I couldn't interfere, even though she had already interfered with my life in the most violent way possible. We drove straight to my lawyer's office. He put me on a chair and said, "Listen carefully. Tonight is about containment." "Containment of what?" I asked. "Containment of damage," he replied. "Derek is moving assets. Rita is building a narrative. And tomorrow, they'll try to turn this into a messy marriage story instead of attempted murder." I stared at him. Bus 5 left the yard. He nodded, already making calls. "We notify the bank immediately. We notify the insurer. We notify your loan officer in writing. We create a paper trail that you did not authorize movement. That's the part men don't understand until it's too late. You can be innocent and still lose if you don't document fast enough." My phone rang again, unknown number. I didn't answer. Mr. Howard shook his head. "Don't." The next call was from Mama Rose. Her voice was weak but clear. "Isaac, she sent someone to see me." My chest tightened. "Who?" "I don't know his name," Mama Rose said. "But he came smiling. He said, 'Mama, don't talk too much. This is family matter.'" I stood up. "Was it Derek?" "I didn't see him," she said. "But I know the smell of fear on a messenger. He was sent." Mr. Howard immediately called the hospital and requested additional security around Mama Rose, plus a note in her file that this was a criminal investigation and she was a key witness. Then Malik called. He sounded tired. "Boss, Derek is telling everyone you're finished. He says the police are on his side. He said Rita is filing for emergency control because you're unstable." I closed my eyes for a second. Not because I was weak, but because I could see the whole pattern now. Step 1, make the man look dangerous. Step 2, isolate him legally. Step 3, move fast while he's restrained. Step 4, when he fights back, call him bitter. Mr. Howard's phone buzzed. He read a message and his face tightened. "Rita filed for a protective order hearing in the morning," he said. "And she's requesting temporary access to the residence and certain accounts." I laughed once, empty. "So she poisons her mother, frames me, and still wants access to my money. That's why she chose this route," he said. "Because it's fast." The next morning, we went before a magistrate. Rita showed up looking like a victim, covered up, quiet voice, trembling hands. She didn't look at me. She looked past me, like I was a stranger. Her statement was clean, rehearsed, and designed to hit public sympathy points. She said I was jealous. She said I was controlling. She said I grabbed her phone violently. She said she feared I would snap. Then her lawyer did something I didn't expect. He held up the forged power of attorney and said, "This is a man in decline. Confused. Paranoid. He's accusing his wife of murder because he cannot accept he's losing control. That line wasn't just disrespect. It was strategy. Because if they can label you declining, they can justify taking things from you. For your own good. Mr. Howard stood and spoke like a blade. He presented the hospital's preliminary findings. He presented evidence that Mama Rose's collapse was consistent with toxic ingestion. He presented Derek's recorded pressure call. He presented the beneficiary form found in my cabinet. He presented the timeline. The magistrate's face changed at the mention of toxicology. Rita's eyes flicked for 1 second, the way they did when I offered the soup to her mother. And then the magistrate said, "This requires criminal investigation beyond a domestic dispute." For the first time in days, I felt the ground shift back under my feet. But it didn't last. Because as we walked out, Malik called again, voice shaking. "Boss," he said, "Derek just took bus 32. He says it's company business and he has the papers. The men are scared to stop him." I stopped walking. Mr. Howard looked at me. "He's draining you while you fight in court." Then my phone buzzed, unknown number again. This time, it wasn't a call. It was a message. "Unknown, you can win the poisoning case and still lose everything else. Ask Mama Rose what she knows about your pension file." My blood went cold. Because that message told me one thing clearly. Derek had been inside my home long enough to know where my life was stored on paper. And Rita had been close enough to hand it to him. I didn't even wait to feel angry. I went straight into action because I was starting to understand the pattern. Every time I paused to process emotions, Derek used that time to move something real. The message said, "Ask Mama Rose what she knows about your pension file." That wasn't a random threat. That was someone telling me they had touched the one thing that could ruin me quietly. Men think losing a marriage is the worst outcome. It's not. The worst outcome is losing your name, your business, and your future while people clap and call it karma. Mr. Howard called the hospital and asked the nurse to place Mama Rose on the line. She sounded tired but alert. "Isaac?" "Mama," I said, keeping my voice controlled. "Did Rita ever talk about my pension file? Did she ever touch it?" Mama Rose sighed. "I saw her carrying a brown envelope 2 weeks ago. I asked, 'What is that?' She said it was Isaac's papers and that she was organizing." My throat went dry. "Where did she take it?" "I don't know," Mama Rose admitted. "But I remember something else. She met Derek outside your gate one evening. I was sitting by the window. I heard her say, 'Everything is inside. Just do your part.'" I closed my eyes for a second. Mr. Howard's voice was sharp. "Mama Rose, did you see him enter the house?" "No," she said. "But I saw Rita hand him something. A thick envelope." I ended the call and looked at my lawyer. "We need to secure the pension account today." He nodded like he'd been expecting it. "We already started. But now we escalate." Within an hour, we were at the pension administrator's office. Mr. Howard didn't speak emotionally. He spoke like a man putting out a fire. "We need an urgent fraud alert on Isaac Carter's pension file," he said. "Any attempt to modify beneficiary details, payment address, or withdrawal instructions must be flagged and blocked." The administrator, a serious woman named Ms. Grant, asked, "Do you have reason to believe there's tampering?" Mr. Howard placed a folder on her desk. Police report number, hospital preliminary toxicology statement, copy of the beneficiary change form we found, and a written statement from me describing attempted manipulation. Ms. Grant read quietly. Her eyes lifted slowly. "Mr. Carter, has anyone contacted our office claiming to be your representative?" I felt my stomach drop. "Has someone?" She hesitated, then nodded. 2 days ago, a man called. He said he was assisting your wife with family arrangements due to your health. He asked about early withdrawal options and the process of changing banking details." My jaw tightened. "Did you give him information?" "No," she said firmly. "We do not discuss client accounts with third parties. But the fact he called means he's trying." Mr. Howard leaned forward. Was there a follow-up? Ms. Grant opened her system. Yesterday evening, someone attempted to submit a request digitally for a change of address and updated bank account for payments. My vision tunneled. Whose bank account? She clicked again and read aloud. It's in the name of Derek Miles. I felt something hot rise in my chest, then go cold. So while Rita was crying in court calling me controlling, I said slowly, she was trying to redirect my pension into her boyfriend's account. Ms. Grant looked uncomfortable. Mr. Carter, we rejected it because the identification verification failed. But the request exists. Mr. Howard's voice was tight. We'll need a certified copy of that attempt for law enforcement. Ms. Grant nodded. I can provide an incident report and audit trail. I signed additional security forms, updated all verification methods, changed passwords, set a verbal passcode, and required in-person verification for any future changes. Mr. Howard insisted on it, and I didn't argue. At that stage, trust was a luxury. When we walked out, I felt a strange kind of clarity. Rita didn't want a divorce. She wanted a payout. Divorce is slow and uncertain. Her plan was faster: kill me or disable me, label me unstable, then drain me while I struggled to prove I was sane. That afternoon, Malik called again. Boss, Derek is angry. He says you're blocking him. He told some drivers you're trying to starve their families. I clenched my fist. Is he still at the yard? Yes, Malik said. And boss, he brought 2 men with him now. They're not staff. Mr. Howard heard that and looked at me. That's escalation. We filed for an emergency injunction to restrict unauthorized access to the yard. We also requested police presence for asset protection. But in modern life, police don't guard your livelihood like they guard public order. So Mr. Howard did the next best thing. He told me to create internal control. That night, I met quietly with my yard manager, Malik, and 2 senior drivers at a neutral location. I told them the truth, not drama, not insults, just facts. Rita poisoned the soup meant for me, I said. Her mother drank it. She almost died. Derek is involved. He's using forged documents. If you follow his instructions, you could become part of a criminal case. They stared at me, shocked, silent. Then Malik said, Boss, we believed you, but some of the younger guys, they fear losing their jobs. I nodded. That's exactly why he's doing it. As we ended the meeting, my phone buzzed again. This time it was an image. A photo of the inside of my house. My office cabinet. Open. And sitting on the desk was the brown pension envelope. With a message underneath. Unknown, you locked your cabinet. Your wife unlocked your life. I stared at the phone until my eyes burned. Because the photo wasn't just intimidation. It was proof that someone had been inside my home recently. Meaning the no contact directive wasn't protecting me from Rita. It was protecting Rita from me, while her people still had access to everything I owned. That photo changed something in me. Up until then, I thought this was a legal war, documents, hearings, reports. The photo reminded me it could still become physical again. Because the first attempt didn't work. And if you're dealing with people desperate enough to gamble with poison, you don't assume they stop because you filed paperwork. You assume they pivot. Mr. Howard saw the photo and immediately said, You need to move. Tonight. I'm already not at home, I replied. He shook his head. Not your home. Your routine. You need to become unpredictable. And you need protection. I hated hearing that word. Protection. I'm not a celebrity. I'm not a criminal. I'm a man who built a life and tried to love a woman. But reality doesn't care what you should need. We arranged for me to stay with my cousin, James, a calm, quiet man who doesn't talk too much and doesn't advertise people's business. Before leaving, I called the investigating officer and forwarded the photo, the number, and the message. His response was short. Don't engage. We'll trace it. I didn't trust that tracing would happen fast enough to matter. That night, I sat in James's living room and tried to eat, but food tasted like nothing. My mind kept replaying Rita's face when she handed me that bowl. The way she watched. The way her panic appeared only when her mother drank it. James asked, "Do you still love her?" I didn't answer quickly. Because love isn't always the issue. Sometimes the issue is, how did I ignore the disrespect for so long that she thought she could kill me and still negotiate? I said finally, "I loved the version of her I thought was real." James nodded. "And now? Now I'm learning who she really is." Around midnight, Malik texted, "Malik, boss, yard is quiet. Derek left. But he told people he'll be back with real authority soon." I stared at that message and felt my stomach tighten again. Real authority meant one thing: more paperwork, more lies, maybe even a bribe, maybe a fake court order. Men like Derek don't quit. They double down until something breaks. Then my phone rang. Unknown number. I didn't answer. It rang again. Then a third time. I answered the third time, not because I wanted to, but because I needed to know what kind of danger was approaching. "Hello?" Derek's voice came through, calm, almost friendly. "Isaac." I stayed silent. He continued, "You're making things harder than they need to be." I said, "You tried to redirect my pension to your account." He chuckled. "That's business. That's theft," I replied. He lowered his voice. "Let's be honest. You were never going to keep Rita forever. You're older. You're rigid. You wanted a young wife to decorate your life. Now she's choosing her future." I felt my jaw tighten. "So your future includes killing people?" He paused, then said, "Stop saying kill. Nobody wanted anyone dead. Your mother-in-law is alive, isn't she?" That casual logic made me shake with anger, but I controlled it. "Why are you calling?" "To offer you a clean exit," Derek said. "Withdraw your criminal complaint. Give Rita the house. We keep the yard running. You keep some money. You walk away with dignity." I laughed once. "Dignity? You're threatening me through a phone." "I'm not threatening," he replied. "I'm advising. Because you don't understand how ugly this gets when a woman cries in public." I went quiet. And that was when he delivered the punchline. "By the way," he said, "Rita is not even your biggest problem." I felt my spine tighten. "What does that mean?" He said it slowly, like he enjoyed the taste of it. "It means," Derek continued, "there's something in your own house you never questioned. Something that will make you lose your ground completely. Ask yourself, are you sure the life you built is even yours to pass on?" My heart started beating hard. Because I understood what he was hinting at. Not business. Not money. Legacy. Family. The kind of doubt that destroys men from the inside, even when it's not proven. Before I could respond, the call ended. I sat there in silence, my phone still pressed to my ear, feeling that old heaviness return, worse than before. James looked at me. "What did he say?" I swallowed. "He's trying to plant something in my head." James frowned. "What kind of something?" I hesitated, then said it out loud. "He's trying to make me question whether my children are mine." James went still. And in that moment, I realized the war had shifted again. When they can't kill you, and they can't steal fast enough, they try to break you emotionally, so you self-destruct and hand them the rest. After Derek's call, I didn't sleep. Not because I was scared of him showing up with fists. I was scared of what he was trying to do inside my head. Because if a man loses control of his mind, he'll destroy his own life faster than any enemy can. Derek didn't invent that paternity line by accident. He said it because he knew it was the one thing that makes men spiral quietly, especially when you're already under attack. If I started acting paranoid around my own family, I'd look exactly like the unstable man Rita was selling in court. So I made myself a rule that night. No emotional decisions. Only verifiable facts. I have one son with Rita. His name is Jordan. He's 17. I raised him. I paid fees. I showed up. I've been the man in that boy's life every day. Derek knew that's where to poke. James, my cousin, watched me pace. "You're thinking too hard," he said. "I'm thinking correctly," I replied. "That's how I'm still alive." I called Mr. Howard early in the morning. "Derek is planting paternity doubt," I told him. "I'm not taking the bait, but I need to protect my next steps." Mr. Howard didn't laugh. He didn't dismiss it. He just spoke like a man who understands warfare. "That's psychological destabilization," he said. "He wants you distracted. He wants you ashamed. And he wants you to act irrational so Rita's domestic narrative becomes believable." "Exactly," I said. "So what do we do?" "Two tracks," he replied. "Track 1, business and asset control. Track 2, criminal evidence. We keep family issues out of it unless facts force them in." I agreed. Then I called Jordan. I didn't accuse him. I didn't ask, "Are you my son?" Because I'm not a fool. That question destroys relationships even when the answer is yes. I said, "Jordan, listen to me. There's a serious situation with your mother. People are trying to turn my business upside down. If anybody contacts you, anyone, asking questions about our home, my documents, or anything personal, you tell me immediately. You don't answer. You don't argue. You just tell me. Understand?" He sounded confused. "Dad, what's going on?" "I'll explain when it's appropriate," I said. "For now, you stay calm and you stay out of adult mess." He hesitated. "Mom has been saying you're trying to ruin her." That line hit me hard, but I expected it. Rita was already working on his mind, too. I kept my voice steady. "Your mom is under investigation. I'm not going to talk bad about her to you. But you need to understand something. I'm protecting myself because someone tried to harm me. That's all I can say right now." Jordan went quiet. "Okay." Before we hung up, he said something that made my stomach tighten. "Dad, Uncle Derek came to see Mom last month." I froze. "What did you just say?" He repeated it. "He came to the house when you were out. He brought some groceries. Mom said he was helping because you're always busy." I felt my throat go dry. "Did he talk to you?" "Not much," Jordan said. "He just joked around. Asked about school. Then he told Mom they needed to talk business, and they went to the room." I sat down slowly. That photo of my open cabinet wasn't a bluff. Derek had access. Rita gave it to him. I ended the call and stared at the wall for a long time, not because I was broken, but because I saw the full disrespect she brought the man into my home. Around my son. Around my documents. And still expected me to protect her. Then Malik called with an update from the yard. "Boss," he said, "we checked GPS history. Bus 5 went off route last night. It's still active. It looks like it's parked around East Side Industrial." Mr. Howard immediately said, "We don't go alone. We involve police." I agreed. But right as we were preparing to act, another message came in from the unknown number. "Unknown, ask Jordan who he calls Dad when you're not home." I stared at it and felt my chest tighten. Not because I believed it. Because I understood what they were trying to do, turn my son into a weapon against me. And I promised myself I wouldn't let Derek use my family like that. Not without consequences. We went to the police with two things: the GPS data for Bus 5 and my son's statement that Derek had been inside my home. I didn't take Jordan's words as evidence in court. I took it as confirmation of access and intent. The investigating officer, Officer Lane, listened carefully while Mr. Howard presented the timeline. "He's using forged documents," Mr. Howard said. "He attempted to redirect pension funds. He entered the family residence. He's now physically interfering with business operations." Officer Lane asked me, "Do you have any proof he entered your home?" "I have a message with a photo of my cabinet open," I said. "And my son confirms Derek visited the house in my absence." Officer Lane nodded slowly. We'll need a formal statement from the child's guardian. Given the situation, we can take a preliminary statement, but we handled that carefully. Then he said what I had been waiting to hear. We can act on the vehicle issue immediately. If Bus 5 was taken without authorization, that's theft. They sent a patrol with us. 1 unit, not a whole operation. Enough to help, not enough to guarantee anything. When we got near the location Malik mentioned, we saw Bus 5 parked behind a warehouse. No driver in sight. I didn't run in like a movie. I stayed near the officer. Mr. Howard stayed behind me. Malik stayed close. The officer checked the plate and radioed it in. Confirmed, he said. Vehicle belongs to Isaac Carter's transport company. Then the warehouse door opened, and a man stepped out holding a phone, one of Derek's guys from the yard. He saw the police and stopped. The officer called out, Sir, step forward. The man raised both hands. I'm just a worker. Who brought the bus here? The officer asked. The man hesitated, eyes darting. Then he said it. Derek. The officer turned to me. We'll tow it back pending investigation. You'll need to formalize a theft report. I nodded. That was one win. But I didn't celebrate. Because one recovered bus doesn't undo the damage they were already doing to my name. On the way back, my phone started vibrating nonstop. Texts. Calls. Notifications. Malik spoke quietly. Boss, it's everywhere. I opened my phone and saw it. A video posted from Rita's account. Not a live video, recorded, edited, and timed. She was sitting in a plain room, eyes red, voice soft. She spoke slowly like she was reading from a script. She said I was dangerous. She said I grabbed her. She said she feared I would hurt her mother to punish her. And then she said the line designed to poison public opinion against me. I think Isaac is trying to frame me because he's losing control of his mind. I watched it once without blinking. Then I watched it again and noticed what most people wouldn't. Her tears didn't match her words. The pauses were too clean. The phrases sounded legal, not emotional. Mr. Howard exhaled through his nose. That's counsel written. I called Jordan immediately. He answered fast. Dad, people are calling me. Don't talk to anyone, I said. Not your friend's parents. Not church members. Nobody. You say one thing only, this is under investigation. Talk to my lawyer? Jordan's voice shook. Mom is saying you're lying. I know, I said. Listen to me carefully, your mother wants you to pick sides. Don't. Stay neutral. Stay quiet. Then I called Mama Rose's nurse. Mama Rose had also seen the video. Her voice was weak but clear when she got on the line. My son, she is shameless. Mama, I said, can you tell police, on record, that the soup was meant for me and she panicked when you drank it? I will, she said. I will say everything. Right as she said that, Mr. Howard's phone buzzed again. He read the message and his face tightened. What? I asked. He looked at me. Rita's lawyer filed an emergency motion. For what? To freeze your operational accounts, he said. They're claiming you're dissipating assets to punish her. I felt my stomach drop. Because if my accounts were frozen, even temporarily, I couldn't pay drivers. I couldn't service vehicles. I couldn't operate. And if I couldn't operate, the business collapses on its own. And that's when it hit me, the poisoning attempt was the fast kill. This was the slow kill. Mr. Howard added, hearing is tomorrow morning. I stared at my phone, at Rita's video still spreading, and I understood the position they were forcing me into. If I stay calm, they drain me. If I fight hard, they call me unstable. If I defend my name publicly, I violate legal advice. If I stay silent, the lie becomes truth. My phone buzzed again. A new message from the unknown number. Unknown, tomorrow, you will lose the accounts. And when you can't pay your drivers, they'll turn on you. I looked at Mr. Howard. What do we do tonight? He replied without hesitation. Tonight, we build the counter-strike. And Isaac, be ready. Because tomorrow, Rita will finally say what she's been hiding about Derek. Not to confess. To weaponize it. That night, Mr. Howard didn't talk about revenge. He talked about survival. Isaac, you're not fighting a marriage anymore, he said. You're fighting a coordinated takedown. And the only way you win is by staying factual, while they stay emotional. I wanted to explode. I wanted to call Rita and ask her how she sleeps at night. But that's exactly how men lose, by chasing closure while the other side is chasing control. So I sat in his office and did the unglamorous work. We built a file that didn't care about Rita's tears or Derek's confidence. 1. Hospital documentation. Mr. Howard got an updated written statement from the doctor. The symptoms weren't consistent with normal food poisoning, and there were preliminary toxic indicators. Not the full lab yet, but enough to show probable malicious ingestion. 2. Mama Rose's affidavit. We arranged for a formal statement from Mama Rose with the nurse present. She signed it with a shaky hand. I drank the soup meant for Isaac, she stated. Rita reacted with panic when Isaac asked me to taste it. After I drank it, I collapsed. Rita did not show normal concern. I warned Rita previously about greed and the influence of a man named Derek Miles. Seeing that in writing hit me harder than hearing it. Because once an old woman signs something like that, it means she's choosing truth over her own child. 3. The pension audit trail. Ms. Grant from the pension office provided an incident report showing a failed attempt to redirect my payment details to an account under Derek's name. That wasn't marriage drama. That was fraud. 4. The yard statements. Malik and 2 senior drivers wrote statements confirming Derek presented keys and claimed authority. Malik also gave us GPS logs and the sequence of events leading to Bus 5 being found. Then Mr. Howard looked at me and said, We need one more thing. What? Proof of access to your home, he replied. Not hearsay. Something tangible. I thought of the photo of my open cabinet. That was something, but we needed a chain. So I did what I hated doing. I called my neighbor, Mrs. Collins, and asked if her security camera faced my gate. She went quiet for a moment, then said, Isaac, I didn't want to involve myself. But yes. And I saw a man come in with Rita one evening. Do you still have the footage? I asked. I do, she said. Because it didn't feel right. An hour later, Mr. Howard had a copy. It wasn't crystal clear, but it showed Rita opening the gate for a man whose walk and build matched Derek. That was enough to support access. Right around midnight, Rita sent a message through an unknown number, one of those fake peace texts that are really threats in a soft voice. Rita, withdraw the criminal complaint. Sign the house and business shares over. I will stop everything. If you don't, I'll release what I have and you'll look like a monster. Mr. Howard read it and nodded once. There it is. Extortion. I stared at the screen. What does she mean by what I have? She means recordings, he said. Old arguments. Partial clips. Anything that can be edited to sound like abuse. My stomach tightened because I remembered how many times I tried to keep peace by lowering my voice while she provoked me. Men don't realize, silence can be weaponized too. If you don't record your reality, someone else will record a version of you. Mr. Howard filed our response that same night, opposition to the account freeze motion, a request for an injunction against Derek, and a motion to prioritize the poisoning investigation as the central matter. Before we left, he looked me dead in the eye. Tomorrow, they'll try to embarrass you, he said. They'll try to make you react? You will not react. I nodded. But in my chest, something heavy was forming. Not fear of court. Fear of what Rita would say publicly to save herself. Because a person who can poison their own mother won't hesitate to destroy a man's name. And the next morning was coming fast. In the courtroom, Rita didn't look like the woman who watched a bull like it was a countdown. She looked like a victim. Simple outfit. No jewelry. Eyes red. Shoulders slightly hunched. She held a tissue like it was part of her identity. Her lawyer sat close, whispering into her ear like a coach. Derek wasn't sitting beside her, but I saw him in the hallway earlier, standing back, quiet, acting like he didn't want attention. That's how predators operate when the room is formal. They let the woman carry the emotion while they hold the strategy. The magistrate started with the motion. Rita wanted temporary freezing of my operational accounts, claiming I was hiding assets and acting irrationally. Her lawyer spoke smoothly. Your Honor, he said, Mr. Carter is in a state of paranoia. He forcibly seized my client's phone. He is escalating conflict. We request a freeze to protect marital assets until these accusations are resolved. Then Rita spoke. She didn't mention her mother. She didn't mention the soup. She spoke directly to the image she wanted to sell. He scares me, she said softly. He watches me. He accuses me. He grabbed my phone and shouted. I'm afraid he'll hurt me, or hurt my mother, just to punish me. I sat there listening to that and felt something inside me go cold, not because I believed she was convincing, but because I realized how easily a lie becomes a weapon when it's delivered with tears. Mr. Howard stood up. He didn't call her names. He didn't insult her. He placed documents on the table like bricks. Your Honor, he said, we oppose the freeze. This is not a financial protection issue. This is an attempted poisoning and fraud scheme. Freezing Mr. Carter's operational accounts would not protect anyone. It would destroy payroll, loans, and contractual obligations, creating irreversible harm. Then he laid out the evidence, piece by piece. Mama Rosa's signed statement confirming the soup was intended for me, and Rita panicked. Hospital preliminary findings indicating toxic ingestion beyond normal food poisoning. The pension office incident report showing an attempted redirect of my pension payments to an account under Derek Miles. Statements from my staff about Derek presenting forged authority and taking vehicles. The neighbor's camera footage showing a man matching Derek entering my property with Rita. The magistrate's expression changed when the pension report was read. That wasn't emotional. That was mechanical fraud. Rita's lawyer tried to interrupt. These are allegations. Mr. Howard stayed calm. They are documented events with audit trails. Then the magistrate asked the question that mattered most. Mrs. Carter, he said, why is there an attempted pension redirect to an account under Derek Miles? Rita's face tightened for half a second. The tissue paused midair. I don't know anything about that, she said. The magistrate looked at her like he didn't appreciate being played. Derek Miles is known to you. Rita hesitated, just long enough for the room to notice. He's a mechanic, she said. He fixed a vehicle. The magistrate leaned back. A mechanic you trust with pension information? Rita's eyes filled again. I was confused. I was under stress. The magistrate turned to my lawyer. If I deny the freeze, can Mr. Carter continue operating while criminal investigations proceed? Mr. Howard replied. Yes. And we will provide periodic account statements if the court requires transparency. The magistrate nodded slowly, then ruled. He denied the blanket account freeze. He ordered limited reporting and reiterated the no-contact terms until the criminal aspect was clarified. It should have felt like a win. But as we stepped out into a hallway, Officer Lane approached us quickly, face serious. Mr. Carter, he said, the lab confirmed the presence of a toxic substance consistent with deliberate contamination. We have enough to proceed. My stomach dropped. Proceed how? We're moving to arrest Rita on criminal charges, he said. And we have a warrant request in progress tied to Derek Miles for fraud and forgery. Mr. Howard asked. Where is she now? Officer Lane's eyes scanned the hallway. That's the problem, he said. She was here 10 minutes ago. Now she's gone. I felt that heaviness return, stronger than ever. Because a cornered person doesn't always run quietly. Sometimes they run towards something reckless. And as I stood there realizing my wife had just disappeared right after hearing, toxic substance confirmed, my phone buzzed. A single text. From Jordan. Jordan, Dad. Mom picked me up from school. She said we're leaving for a while. I couldn't breathe for a second. Mr. Howard looked at my face and knew immediately something had changed. What is it? He asked. I showed him the message. And in that hallway, with police now searching for my wife, I realized the situation had crossed into a different kind of danger, one where the fight wasn't only about my money or my reputation anymore. It was about my son. When I read Jordan's text, Mom picked me up from school. She said we're leaving for a while. My first instinct was to run. Not to the yard. Not to my house. Straight to my son. But Mr. Howard grabbed my wrist firm. Isaac. Breathe. If you move wrong, they'll call it harassment. We do this legally fast. Officer Lane was already on his radio. We may have a child involved. Possible custodial interference. Confirm current custody status and last known location. I said. Jordan is 17. He can speak for himself. He didn't choose this. She took him. Lane nodded. We'll treat it as urgent. Do you have his live location? I called Jordan immediately. No answer. I called again. No answer. My stomach turned. I texted him. Me, Jordan, answer me now. Are you safe? Where are you? 2 minutes felt like an hour. Then he responded. Jordan, I'm safe. Mom is crying. She says you're trying to get her arrested. We're in a car with Uncle Derek. My vision tunneled. I showed the message to Lane. His face changed. That's enough. We're escalating. Mr. Howard spoke quickly. Officer, we need immediate instruction. He should not contact the wife directly given the no-contact directive, but the minor is contacting him. You must document this. Lane nodded. Understood. We will call the child through official channels. But I couldn't just sit there while Derek drove around with my son like a bargaining chip. I called Jordan again. He answered this time, voice low like he was trying not to let them hear. Dad, he whispered. Mom is saying we need to leave before police come. Jordan, I said, keeping my voice steady even though my chest felt like it was collapsing. Listen carefully. Are you in danger? No, he said. But Uncle Derek is angry. He keeps saying you're ruining everything. Where are you? I asked. Jordan hesitated. I don't know the street. We're driving. Look outside, I said. Any signs? Any landmarks? He went quiet for a few seconds, then whispered. We passed the old stadium. Now. I see a sign. East Side Bypass. My mind flashed to where Bus 5 had been hidden, East Side Industrial. Same area. Same pattern. Same base. I looked at Officer Lane. East Side Bypass. Lane didn't hesitate. We'll dispatch units. Keep him on the phone if possible. I stayed on the call with Jordan. Jordan, do not argue with your mother. Do not accuse anyone. Just stay calm. If you can safely share your live location, do it. I can try, he whispered. But if they see... Only if it's safe, I said. Then Rita's voice came through, loud enough for me to hear. Who are you talking to? Jordan went quiet. I heard movement, like a phone being grabbed. Then Rita's voice came directly into the phone, shaking with anger. Isaac, she said. This is what you want, right? You want to destroy me in front of my child. My hands shook, but I kept my voice cold. Where is my son, Rita? He's with his mother, she snapped. He's not your property. You poisoned your own mother, I said. And now you're running with Derek. Stop saying that, she screamed. Nothing was meant to kill anyone. Rita, I said slowly. If Jordan gets harmed because of your panic, you will never recover from that. She laughed, short, broken. You think I care about recovery? You're trying to lock me up like a dog. I heard Derek's voice in the background, low and aggressive. End the call. Don't talk to him. Rita hesitated. Then she said one sentence that told me her entire mindset. If you withdraw everything, I'll bring him back. I closed my eyes. There it was. The real reason she took Jordan. Not motherly protection. Leverage. Officer Lane leaned toward the phone and said clearly, Madam, this is law enforcement. You are required to bring the child to the nearest station immediately. Rita went silent. Then the call cut off. I stared at my phone, breathing hard, feeling the kind of helpless anger men don't admit. When you provide for your family your whole life, you never imagine you'll have to beg for your own child's safety. Lane was already moving. We have enough for an emergency pickup order. Stay available. Do not attempt to locate them yourself. My jaw clenched. They're not going to bring him back voluntarily. Lane nodded. That's why we act quickly. A few minutes later, Jordan's location ping came through, one brief share before it went dead. It was enough. East Side Industrial. Same cluster of warehouses. Same kind of place where a man can hide a vehicle and hide a person. We drove there with police. 2 units this time. I sat in the back seat of my lawyer's car, staring at my hands and feeling something hard settle in me. This wasn't about betrayal anymore. This was about what happens when a woman chooses greed over responsibility, and a man chooses control over morality. And my son was caught in the middle. We arrived at East Side Industrial and the police moved fast, quiet, controlled, professional. They didn't kick doors down randomly. They cornered the area and approached the warehouse listed on Jordan's last ping. A plain building. 1 large gate. 2 side exits. The kind of place where people can disappear for hours and nobody asks questions. Officer Lane looked at me. Stay in the car unless we call you. I hated it, but I obeyed. Because the quickest way to lose my son is to let them label me reckless. The officers approached. One knocked hard. Police. Open up. No response. They knocked again. Louder. Open the door now. Then the side door opened slightly. Jordan stepped out first. His eyes were wide. He looked angry and confused at the same time, like a boy forced to watch adults behave like enemies. The officer guided him gently aside. You're safe. I got out of the car without thinking. Lane snapped. Isaac, stay back. I stopped myself and raised my hands slightly, showing I wasn't charging in. Jordan saw me and his face tightened. He didn't run to me. He just stared, like he was trying to understand which story was true, mine or his mother's. Then Rita appeared behind him. Her hair was messy now. Her eyes weren't soft anymore. That courtroom victim costume was gone. She looked like a woman cornered by her own choices. Behind her, Derek stepped into view. He wasn't smiling anymore either. His jaw was set, eyes hard, like he was calculating whether he could talk his way out or fight his way out. Officer Lane spoke first. Rita Carter, you are under arrest for attempted poisoning, fraud-related offenses under investigation, and custodial interference pending verification. Derek Miles, you are detained pending questioning and search warrants related to forgery and theft. Rita snapped. This is his doing. He's lying. Lane didn't argue. He moved forward with cuffs. Rita backed up instinctively. No. No. I'm not going to prison because of him. Derek put a hand out like he was guiding her, trying to keep her from panicking. Then Rita did something that still makes my stomach turn when I remember it. She pointed at Mama Rose's direction, not physically there, but like the idea of her mother. She should have died, Rita hissed. This was never supposed to be a big drama. The officers froze for a second. I felt the air leave my body. Because that sentence wasn't a mistake. It was truth leaking out. Officer Lane cuffed her immediately. Rita started crying again, but now it didn't sound like victim tears. It sounded like the sound of consequences arriving. Jordan looked at his mother like he didn't recognize her. Mom, he whispered. What did you do? Rita tried to turn toward him, but the cuffs pulled her hands behind her. Jordan, baby, listen, your father hates me. He's trying to. Jordan stepped back. Stop. Just stop. That moment, my son backing away from his mother, hurt more than any insult she ever threw at me. Because no child wants to see their parent exposed like that. But lies don't protect children. They poison them too. Derek tried to talk. Officer, you're misunderstanding. This is marital conflict. There's no proof. Mr. Howard stepped forward and said calm, deadly. The pension office audit trail is proof. The forged power of attorney is proof. The stolen vehicles are proof. And the lab-confirmed toxicology is proof. Derek's mouth tightened. His eyes moved fast, looking for an escape. He didn't find one. They loaded Rita into the car. She looked at me through the window and said the final line that killed whatever part of me still wanted closure. If you had just eaten the soup, none of this would have happened. I stared at her and felt nothing romantic. No rage. No begging. Just cold understanding. Because she wasn't sorry. She was sorry she failed. That day, I filed for divorce. Not as revenge. As hygiene. You don't keep poison in your house and call it love. Rita was charged. Derek was investigated and later charged for fraud and forgery-related offenses tied to the pension attempt and the power of attorney scheme. The case took months, but the direction never changed once the paper trail lined up with the medical proof. Mama Rose recovered slowly. When she was strong enough, she came to stay with me, not because it was comfortable, but because she didn't trust her daughter anymore, and because she refused to let shame bury the truth. Jordan stayed with me too. It wasn't smooth. Teenagers don't process betrayal like adults. Some nights he blamed me. Some nights he blamed his mother. Mostly, he just went quiet. And I learned something that I wish I had learned earlier, without having to almost die. When a partner starts acting too perfect, out of nowhere, when affection comes with secrecy, when you're being watched instead of loved, your gut isn't paranoia. It's pattern recognition. I didn't become wise because I read books. I became wise because I saw death sitting in a bowl, smiling in my wife's face. Every year since then, I don't celebrate with big speeches. I celebrate quietly. And I never ignore that heaviness in my chest again, because that bad feeling didn't just save my life. It showed me the truth.